I love your bookshelf back there.
Yeah, thanks. I have my
Nice, nice,
Tolkien books over there. Let me see if I can show you guys. So
nice.
here is the Tolkien stuff.
Wow, look at that.
That's dope, man.
All this, and this.
Man has got a library. That's what's up, yo.
Yeah.
And are those in English or are they in Greek?
Yeah, almost
Or
everything in
all of them?
English. Yeah, I
Almost
have
in
all
English.
the
Okay.
yeah, I have all the Greek editions also just for collection purposes, but I don't
And
read
you're
them in
in
English.
Greece?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in
You're in
Greece.
Greece, okay. Hey, Lord of the Rings fans, New Better Do Better here, and today we are in episode 62 of Voices of Arda. Yes, the podcast you should be following, you should be liking, you should be sharing, and making sure you get out to the masses because we dope. Now, of course, as always, I got my wonderful, beautiful, magnificent co-host, Callie Cosplay in the building. What up, Callie?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to spring and another episode of Voices of Arda.
We are in spring now, yo.
We are
We have
officially.
shed the winter skin. Now
Hmm
it's time, you know what I mean? October to April is grimy season. If you're from New York, you already know what that means. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? October to April is grimy season, and me, you throwing a hoodie and you know me and Scully and some boots. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. But now it's April, so you could put your face back to normal. You could take the ice grill off, and you could walk around because starting to get warmer, and we could be outside without fully regaled and covered up, you know what I'm saying, and
But
freezing.
the
So
air
now it's
doesn't
time.
hurt, you know? Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
The air doesn't hurt. Our
You know
guest
what
today, though, might
else?
not know about this type of
Well,
stuff. He might have completely different weather where he is.
I
no,
think
Um,
he
I've
does.
been to I've been to New York, so I know the weather. The weather there. Yeah.
I was about to say, something that is going to make you smile is our guest for today, whose name I've been having trouble pronouncing ever since they've come into the fray. So I'm gonna allow Callie to introduce them as always. But the name I'll be like, is it this? Is it? I'm like, I don't want to say it wrong, but Callie, let me know. Let me know. What's his name? Because he
all
is he
right.
is magnificent.
He is. I
Thank you.
cannot wait. He is the winner of our most recent Tolkien Trivia Jeopardy competition that we had just in March 2025. We had Kel, who was competing. We had David Donoldo, and we had, of course, Adanathel. Now, his name is Stavros, but for some reason, he thought Adanathel was easier for people to pronounce.
It is not. It is not, sir.
But he is coming to us all the way from Greece, which is amazing, and we are very excited to introduce him to the community. Hi, Danithel.
Hello, hello. Nice to meet you guys, and thank
What's
you
going
for
on,
having me here.
Adanathel? Did I do
Yeah,
it? Did I do it?
yeah.
It is an honor and a pleasure to have you on the podcast, man. I want to say, first and foremost, out of my mouth, your performance in the trivia, in the fifth trivia that we put on, that Callie and Ladorfin put on, I should say, um, was amazing. It was inspiring. Your knowledge is tip top, man. It is amazing. You performed like a monster, man. And I was like, whoo, I was blown away. I was like, yo, this dude right here, upper echelon. You know what I'm saying? On some Bard of Order level stuff. And I need it to happen, but we'll talk about that. But I was very impressed, man. So just kudos to you, man. That your
Thank
knowledge that you have, man. This was just so inspiring from somebody who, I know some stuff. I was very impressed, man. I was very impressed, and I'm like, I can't wait to like just chop it up with you, talk to you about Tolkien, and I need you to represent for Greece.
you.
Now, my two places that I need to visit before I kick the bucket that are on my bucket list have always been New Zealand and Greece. Greece was always number one. I was obsessed with Greek mythology as a child. Before I even got into the Lord of the Rings, I was super obsessed with Greek mythology. I always wanted to go to the Parthenon. I always wanted to, the Temple of Delphi. I always wanted to visit these places. I always wanted to visit these places. And so I just want to hear from you. And then of course, I think we both, you've probably already done it, but if not, we both want to go to New Zealand, of course, and visit
Yeah.
the land that was built for us Tolkien folks. So introduce yourself, let us know
Yeah.
where we can find you, and
Yes.
tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my name is Stavros, as Kelly mentioned, but I go by Adanethel. So Adanethel is my nickname in the Tolkien Society here in Greece. When you register, you get to choose a nickname. So yeah, it chose Adanethel. It was not taken. So and I like Turin. I really like the story of Turin and the children of Húrin.
Yeah,
It's probably my favorite in the Silmarillion.
we're gonna have a
So yeah.
talk then.
Yeah. Yeah, so I chose that. And well, I live in Greece. I live in the northern part of Greece. I live in Thessaloniki currently. It's the second largest city in Greece.
Nice,
It's
nice.
quite opposite from Athens if you look at the map. But yeah, well, if you want, we have a lot of ancient sites here from Macedon and Philip the Great and
Yeah,
Alexander.
Philip the Great.
Yeah, we have everything here. So i- if any of you ever come in Greece, we can meet up and I'll show you around and whatever you want.
Absolutely,
Yeah. And
absolutely.
well, I've been I didn't get to see the movies when they came out in the cinemas because I was like 6 years old in 2001. Yeah, six, no, five. And yeah, well, I saw the movies a few years later because I had to read the subtitles. And yeah, and then I loved them. And then I read the books. But the funny thing is, I have never read them all three books in Greek. I read them in English.
Well, that's a
Do they exist and all in Greek?
Yes, yes, they do.
Yes.
The first translation was in 78, I think.
And how do they compare, do you find, as a native Greek speaker to
Yeah.
read the translated versions? How does that
No,
like
the translation is not good. Like
okay.
yeah, I think it's really bad. Some people like it, but I think it's
that is you know what?
yeah,
I respect your honesty there, man. I
yeah.
respect your honesty there. That sometimes that happens sometimes. Some things get lost in translation and the epicness might, not, translate as well.
Well, I think if someone else like did a newer translation, someone who actually knew like deeply their language and had read more books on the Legendarium, he would
Hmm.
have done a better job. But like there are some parts where you have capital letters, like when Aragorn tells his story with Luthien, and he says they fought the Great Wolf or something.
Hmm.
Like they don't even translate it. Like wolf is a different word word in Greek, and they have wolf because it was with capital letters, and they left it the same.
Okay, I
Yeah,
got you.
Oh, like a
yeah,
proper name. Okay.
yeah. And like in the Silmarillion, when they say Celegorm the Fair,
Yeah.
they translated as Celegorm the Blonde in the word for blonde in Greek.
Yeah, that's not what that means.
Yeah, but like if you like Tolkien envisioned him as blonde in like the early drafts, if you see his name in the etymologies in the what is the fifth volume of the History of Middle Earth, he says he was blonde, but then he changed it, and all the sons of Fëanor were dark haired, so he
Yeah,
cannot be
he
blonde.
made it fit more so with the
Yeah,
line that the Fëanorians, they had dark hair, red hair, so I
yeah,
understand exactly what you're saying. I like how he fit that. I had made a video on that one time about the
yeah,
hair and the typical uh family line, like for the Dolphins kids, obviously, all
yeah.
having the blonde hair, and I think that's really cool. I think that's like well thought out.
Yes.
Following Indus, and
I
so.
have some things to say about Gil-galad's parentage, but
Oh, do you now? Because I
yeah,
always have something to say about it. So,
yeah. Like I think him being the son of Fingon is like perfect. It fits with
oh
the
my
whole.
God, you're my
Yeah.
best friend.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, you're my best friend.
Oh my goodness,
Everybody,
what have I
somebody
done?
call somebody call
What
the
have I
president.
done?
Oh my God, yo, listen. It fits perfectly with the story. It does not, I understand that he feels like he made a mistake in translation, but it was a happy accident. I'm literally doing a whole panel on this. I'm doing a
Yeah.
panel. Everything about it works out better. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense that Orodreth would be his father. It doesn't make sense that if he got sent to the Havens and Orodreth was his father, he wouldn't send his daughter, Finduilis,
Yeah.
to the Havens as well, and you would leave her there to deal with the fate of the wars, but you send your son. That makes no sense. King or no, everybody knows a king is going to, a man is going to protect his daughter, probably more so than
Yeah.
his son. So he would have sent his daughter to the Havens as well. I would have been fine if she got sent to the Havens, but no. So you should have changed Finduilis's background or parentage if that was the case and made her a cousin or something
Mhm.
like that then. But that wasn't the case. So it doesn't make sense there. You know what I'm saying? Also, Gilgalad doesn't have blonde hair.
Yeah.
That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
The each line
Mhm.
very specifically, and it tells you,
Mhm.
especially with the Feanorians, they follow their trait from that line. So we know the Feanorians
Mhm.
crafty, they're brooding.
Yeah.
Some follow have the temperament of their mother. Where I say somebody like Amrod and Amros have they kind of like in the middle. They really just following
Yeah.
along.
We really don't know much.
They
Yeah.
don't really, you know what I'm saying? They don't, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
very much on the fence with the Feanorians, they trying, but they're very much like their father, especially Celegorm and Corfin, very much like their father.
Yeah.
Assholes. And then we got Fingolfin's line, and Gilgalad falls so much in
Yeah.
line with that line. Everyone in Fingolfin's line is brave and is just like Fingolfin. Fingon does not get nearly the respect that he deserves.
Mhm.
He's really Fingon the Valiant. Thus his name. Brave, and they can fight. Turgon, just, valiant. He could fight. You know what I'm saying? Even look at Idril. You know what I'm saying? All of them are just, you know what I mean? And Gilgalad falls in that line. If we look at the weak king that is Orodreth, it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't even
Yeah.
feel right.
Yeah. Like no sense at
Orodreth is
all.
a weak king. He's
Mhm.
everything he
I
does is
I like when
just
you call him a bum king, but a
he's a
weak king.
bum.
He's a bum
He's a
king.
bozo. I'm sorry. I started going on a tangent, but I really appreciate your thought process on that. I had to
No, no, you're just making him lose importance. Like you're making him lose prestige. You know, he's the last High King of the Noldor, and he's like the grandson of Fingolfin. And when you
exactly.
read, yeah, when you read about him, when Sam sings Gilgalad's song, yeah, you get the feel like he was really important. You know, he was valiant, he was
Absolutely.
everything. Yeah,
Exactly.
and making him like the grand no, it wasn't even great grandson of Finarfin. Yeah, because Orodreth becomes, I think, the son of Angrod.
Yeah. Anger on. Yep.
Yeah,
It
you
just
just
doesn't it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Some people like it, so their argument is that, oh, being in Finarfin's line and coming from, Ordreth, it shows that he had to overcome adversity and he's a better king than his father was. And his father, like, I don't even call him
yeah.
his father, but in their minds and in their thoughts. Um, so I'm going to be doing some panels at a long expected party in Kentucky in September.
Mm.
And so, one of my panels is the parentage of Gilgalad, a happy accident.
Yeah.
Because I believe that leave it how it works with the story so much more better.
Mhm.
So maybe me and you can do some correspondence and talk about it and
Okay.
I
Yeah,
can
we
get
will
your
see.
your
Yeah,
viewpoints
but
and
and you still have Galadriel, you know. She represents Finarfin's line. So why do you need Gilgalad?
you don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need them as anything. And it doesn't, and if that's the case, you would see a closer relationship with Galadriel and Gilgalad
Yeah.
in the Second Age,
Mm,
which you
Yeah.
don't see.
Mhm. True,
mhm,
true.
She's closer to Celebrimbor
Mhm.
mhm,
than
Yeah.
she is with Gilgalad, which
Yeah.
makes it wouldn't make any sense because she lost all her brothers. So her nephew would be uber important to her.
Yeah, I agree completely.
as she was to Thingol.
Yeah.
Thingol and Finrod's relationship, they stayed there. She lived with Thingol. That's her great uncle. Same thing. His.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Yeah, you said it. Like every time the book describes like Fingolfin, Fingon, Turgon, you it's kind of similar of how they describe Gil-galad, like valiant, warrior, and everything. And it doesn't fit
Yeah,
with the Finarfin line, but
yeah.
well,
It just doesn't fit. It just
yeah.
doesn't fit. I
Well,
appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate you.
You guys
We
are
now
amazing.
I have even more respect for you. I get
thanks.
so much pushback on that, man. I get so much pushback on it, from some people. But it's good to see it. So tell us how you got such a deep understanding of the lore. Is it just continuous reading, a great
So
memory,
yeah,
combination of the two?
so yeah, well, I've watched the movies like I don't even know how many times, and yeah, we also have done like a couple of marathons, watched them all in a sitting. They did one in the cinemas here, in the cinema like a couple of months ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I was always watching the movies. I read the books, and I've read them multiple times, like more than 5 or 6 times each. And yeah, do you guys remember like the app Quiz app? Do you remember that? It was an app that you downloaded and you played quizzes with people around the world, and it had every
Oh.
type of quiz. Yeah,
Oh,
uh,
I don't remember that.
yeah, it got shut down like 5 years ago or something, but it was really big actually, and I used to play there. It had different categories from Silmarillion to Lord of the Rings books, movies, and everything.
I wish I would have knew about this, man.
Yeah, and I used to play on that a lot. And actually, I remember a lot of stuff. I read. It's
That's
nothing
what's up,
like
man.
very special. I do a lot
Hey,
of online quizzes, and I try to find like quiz books. And when I found Bloodorthin's videos, like I was really happy.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Blood Orphan is a blessing. So shout out to Blood Orphan,
Yeah.
putting forth, putting forth the effort to make those, trivias every week and putting them out. And he and Callie do the trivia contest. And big shout out. I want to make sure I shout out to Kel. And I want to make a shout out to David, the other participants. They did an amazing job, and their
Hmm.
knowledge is absolutely phenomenal as well. Prior to us starting the podcast, he showed us his book collection, and it was kind of scary. So if you could pan to your Tolkien books, if you don't
Well,
mind,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we definitely
I'll
want to see
try,
these.
but the camera I don't think can get. This is a pile here.
yeah.
And
And then we
here's
got
the
woo.
bookcase, yeah,
That's
but I cannot show.
crazy.
That's only the History of Middle Earth series and the
Yeah.
hardbacks and the companion, like some Lord of the Rings stuff, and it's the whole case.
All
That's
right, man. That is
amazing.
awesome, man. So
Yeah,
in the
so
in the Legendarium, I know you're a big fan.
mhm.
Which is your favorite work?
The Silmarillion.
That's my strongest point there as well. The Silmarillion. Um, Overall, as a work, The Hobbit is just dear to me, even though it's the most simplistic of the works. It
Mhm.
just has a special place in my heart just for the overall story arcing everything. But like my absolute like love and passion is the Silmarillion. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's what that's my favorite of the books, in that sense. But like just my love of just a blank work is just obviously The Hobbit is just it's so pure and dope. I think that the Lord of the Rings is the bread and butter of everything. Obviously, that's the one that
yes,
gets and draws everyone in. It is kind of a masterpiece. The Silmarillion is just it's for someone like me, you. It's not for everyone. To
yeah,
everyone's not going to hold it in the same regard, but they're missing out. They don't know.
yeah.
Um, so
Like
if I
you
could
read the
just
Silmarillion, you listen to Blind Guardian's album, and uh, if anyone.
you got the CD and you listen to Blind Guardian.
Well, yeah, it's just great. It's the most epic out of all the works, I think.
Gotcha. I got
Yeah.
you, man. So in the Silmarillion, what is your favorite chapter?
So, well, I have to go for The Children of Hurin, but I actually like more the book, The Children of Hurin, the separate
Gotcha.
book
Yeah.
that
Mm.
came out. But the fall of Ingolfin, like the third battle and the fourth battle actually, and the fall of Ingolfin is
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
So that is I read that all the time live. It's so epic.
yeah.
So it's one of the things I make sure I read a lot because that part is amazing. Um, my favorite parts, if I was answering the question,
Mhm.
are I think the most complete and perfect story is the Baron and Luthien story. It just has everything. I think
Yeah,
it's really well done. It's just over. It has five villains. It has love. It has hate. It has everything you could think of is in that story. So I think that just is just the most complete work within the Silmarillion. The Children of Hurin is so sad to me, and I'm not a big Turin fan. If I don't know, I
really,
have my feelings on Turin because he we me and Belmont get into this all the time. Turin's not my favorite character, but Beleg is I love Beleg Strongbow. Kuthalion is amazing to me.
yeah.
I love him. But my favorite chapter is probably going to surprise most people. Besides Baron and Luthien, is of Balerion than his realms. And most
Mm.
people are like, no, no, not a
The
Balerion than his realms.
maps
Yeah,
chapter.
yeah, that's a great chapter.
It's a great chapter. I just
Yeah.
literally I love that chapter. It's like, and I can envision and see everything. It's like somebody is taking me in a helicopter ride over Middle Earth and Balerion, then showing me things, and it's like, wow, this is who?
Yeah.
Why? How could you think of something like this? It's crazy.
But I
So,
think like the three main books, Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion, are the best one for quizzes.
Mhm.
mhm.
The Unfinished Tales, not so much. It has very different versions of a story. Many
Yeah,
like
it's a few
So,
different versions for
yeah,
mm.
ABC. Like
yeah,
it's like ABC. This version. Oh, we went with this version because it fits
yeah,
most closely to what my father thought. His
yeah.
thought processes. So
Like if
somebody
they,
could easily confuse.
yeah, and if they chose like the chapter from Galadriel and Celeborn and
Oh
everything,
my,
yeah,
oh my God, man!
yeah,
It's like pick a choice, pick a road, pick a route. What did
yeah,
you actually do?
yeah.
Yes, no, I
So
understand.
yeah,
Same
I
thing with
think
the Fall of Gondolin a bit. It's retold
yeah,
like four times. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Baron and Luthien as well. Um, you
So,
know,
yeah, so I think the best ones are the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and the Silmarillion. They are like perfect books. They don't contradict it.
tell us about the
Yeah,
Tolkien fan base in Greece.
in
That's
Yeah,
something
Greece.
that's
you
kind
are
of new.
not allowed to compete in trivia over there. We've been told
Yeah,
you're not allowed
yeah,
to there, so you have to come over here and take on
yeah.
our contestants. So yeah, tell
No.
us about what's happening with the Greek Tolkien Society.
So the Tolkien Society was founded in 2002, actually here in Greece. It's a separate society from the one in England because there is the Tolkien Society there, and they have many smiles all around the world. You can become a smile of the English Tolkien Society, but we are a separate society. So yeah, and we have a smile here in where I live. It's called Arnor because it's in the north.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and it was founded in 2002. We have about like 100 members, active members, let's say. It's not a lot, but for Greece,
No, that's
it's
pretty
nice.
good.
Yeah. And they do like we do once a month a meeting. We do readings or different themes. Like we did Tolkien and languages. We did Tolkien and the Old Testament.
Ooh.
And yeah, like different subjects. We do like trips. We go to places. We see the movies.
Nice.
Just fun stuff. We do quizzes. I do the quizzes. Yeah.
You host them. You don't answer the
Yeah, yeah,
questions
I
now.
host them. I choose the questions, and the questions are usually like a lot easier than the ones we did here. We did on the live quiz.
I got you, man. That's
Yeah,
that's dope.
and I
That's
only do
dope, man.
from Silmarillion, Hobbit, and the Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings.
Rings.
That's
So
what
who's
I
your
want.
favorite character?
Well, it's probably Turin. Probably Turin. Yeah, it's Turin Fingolfin and Gil-galad.
Oh, I
Yeah,
like that. Fingolfin is
between
my favorite elf. So
yeah,
he's,
favorite elf for sure. Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely my favorite elf. And people are like, when people say Fingolfin is their favorite elf, most of them are doing it because of his fight. And I'm like, that's not at all why he's my favorite elf. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Or
that's
why?
not why. I love that he's so strong. That is part of the reason I love him so much. But it's not that. It's his restraint and that he uses when his brother tries to play him. When his brother really is an asshole to him, he could have been that back and he could have acted a certain way, but he held restraint and it shows his character. His character. And it says he he was the most valiant of all the kings ever.
Yeah.
And you really see you really see his character when you know what? My brother burnt these ships. I gotta see him. We're crossing this ice, and he gets his people across. They lose some people, but to do what he did, to bring it in there, boom. He gets to Angband, and he says immediately he uses his brain, even though he's there. The middle line is more the strength. You would think that they're just, oh, these are just the tough guys. He says, nah. Unlike Feanor, who doesn't use his brain and say, hey, I'm getting surrounded. Let me get the fuck out of here. He doesn't do that. He says, this don't look like it'll fall just because we just ran up here. Let me retreat and go back to Mithrin. Let me
Yeah.
retreat and go back to this lake and chill out and and then I think he has one instance of losing his temper, and that's when he passes. But besides that, he was a great king. The people wanted him to be king more than his brother. They were more
Yeah.
content with Fingolfin's rule than Feanor taking over. They were like, we kind of like Fingolfin already. Like, we don't really want to, and it caused tension, but it was rightfully so. Look what Feanor did. And so I just everything he does is just integrity. He has great integrity. And when he did crash out, I don't blame him for crashing out at all. I'm like, yo, he thinks everybody's is done. He's like, yo, bump it. Then we gonna fight at the end. You know what I'm saying? If he had a little more patience, which, it is what it is, he would have realized that they could have regathered their strength, which they ended up doing, and then fighting in the near Nath. Now imagine Fingolfin in the near Nath.
Yeah.
They,
Well,
they they win.
I don't think they will win, but
I don't know, man. I with Fingolfin, Ecthelion, Glorfindel, Fingon, Turgon. I think they win, bro. Hurin, I'm giving them the dub, man. Nah, I don't
well,
think they win ultimately, but
yeah.
it would have been crazy though.
Yeah, it would have been
It
crazy.
would have been crazy though. But think about, I don't know. Fingolfin,
Yeah, I don't know. I
I
don't
think he
know.
would have beat Gothmog.
Yeah, probably.
You know what I'm saying? And that would have been
Yeah.
a great blow to
Yeah.
uh to Morgoth's troops and everything. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that
It's
would be.
this fun stuff to think about though. We
Yeah,
we
fan
we
fiction.
represent fan fiction, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fan fiction. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, so with that's your favorite character, Fingolfin, and Turin is your favorite character overall. Tell us
Yeah,
about your love for Turin.
for Turing. So I like the story. I like how tragic he is, how maybe relatable also. Like, and how good of a warrior he is. Like, I really
Mm-hmm.
like that also. And everything, he killed the dragon, like the father
Mm-hmm.
of the dragons. Like everything in the story, like makes it's epic, but it's really dark, and I really like dark
Mm,
stories.
mm,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, very, very Oedipus type of
Oedipus. Yeah,
situation going on. It's my disdain for Turin is because I want to root for him. And I just it's probably because it's so dark and sad because he's not a bad person and it's like, damn, man, I just want him to make the right decisions, but when I see him, just whether it's the curse or no, um I just see him and I'm like, no, and I'm like yelling at him and he's not hearing me through the pages and it's like hurts me. And I'm like, damn, bro, like you really is one of the goats like at this shit.
Mhm.
Like everything he does, he's revered. And I'm
Yeah,
like, yo, dude, like just don't make this one decision and you will be straight. And this person won't die. Every decision he makes, other people suffer from, and he doesn't mean it at all. He doesn't, but he just won't listen to his like he's like he doesn't have Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder or something. Like he just listens to like the curse more. He like pays attention to that shit more than his own intuition, I feel like, or his friend. He'll listen to like the other people or whatever, which some people might attribute to the curse. I just like, yo, stop with the self-fulfilling prophecy, bro. It bothers me, man, because he is that great. Everyone falls in love with him.
Yeah.
Everyone he's around, he ends up becoming their leader, or they listen to him. They call him the elf man, like the elves in Argothron, and they listen to him and they build this dumb bridge over the thing. But the
Yeah.
fact that they're listening to him, and somebody from Window who is from there, they stop listening to him because he's not forward in war anymore,
Yeah.
and they start listening to a man who's, from my understanding, is the first man in Nargothrond.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Besides Baron.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Well, and you can see like he was cursed by Morgoth, and like like he did Morgoth's will, and
Yeah,
you can like see, and Tuor did like Ulmo's will. They were kind of the opposite, the two
Mm-hmm.
cousins.
yeah.
Yeah, and it would have
One of
been
them is
yeah, it would have been fun for them to meet actually when they
when they
like
pass each
saw each
other.
other. Yeah, the pool of Erin. Yeah,
Yeah, when they pass each other by Evern,
yeah,
I think that is one of the most epic things in the whole. I know it doesn't like it probably doesn't resonate with certain people. They're just like, oh, they
yeah.
pass each other and it doesn't mean anything. But it's one of those instances where it's like, to me, I'm like, oh my God, they don't even know. Like people don't even know how epic that is.
Yeah.
How epic that is. It's crazy.
Tour
Yo,
is
so
like too much of a good guy, like for my taste, but
I feel you. He's kind of
yeah.
a perfect character
He's
in a certain
perfect. Yeah,
sense.
he's
Yeah, he's
perfect.
kind of a perfect character. But I will say this though, and I always argue this point. If you really read, Tuor had a tougher life earlier than Turin did.
Yeah, yeah,
Turin
that's
had an
true.
easy life actually in the beginning.
Yeah,
He got raised in Doriath. He
Mm.
went out and he did fight among on the marches at his
yeah,
own behest, at his own choice. But besides that, he was raised as a prince of Doriath.
yeah.
It wasn't he was cool. Tuor was actually a thrall,
Thrall
and
for 3 years. Yeah,
he was a thrall where Turin escaped being a thrall. They's like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, but and even before that, they wouldn't mess with Morwen. They would not mess with her. The Easterlings was like, nah, they were
She's
scared
my
of her.
girl. I love
Yeah,
Morwen.
you dig what I'm saying? So it's like in the beginning, Tor actually came up more from what we like to say the slum. He really was in the slums. He really was outside like that. Where
yeah,
Turin kind of put himself in a position which he made himself fight, which I respect that. Where I'm like, yo, he wants to go fight. Very much like Horin and Huor. When they were in Gondolin, they could have chilled, but they were like, nah, we want to leave. We want to get back to the shit. Like, we want to fight. And that's why Horin is my favorite man, like character.
yeah.
Horin is the GOAT, bro. He really you couldn't tell him nothing. So Horin and Torin and the juxtaposition there.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Morgoth himself is in his face telling him, yo, I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. He didn't budge. I don't care what you're talking about. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's thousands of orcs. He's fighting them. Everybody else is dead. He doesn't buckle. He doesn't fold. I'm with the smoke, and he's just fighting them. And it's just what he does, and just how he handles himself. He just, he despairs at the end, but it's super understandable. If you can't understand that, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
That
and
despair isn't him being a traitor. He's not a traitor. Turin is never a traitor either, but he's just so, oh man, he's just so like down on himself about the curse.
because
That
yeah,
is sad.
it is, and like an interesting piece of for someone to read is Húrin when he goes to Brethil amongst the people of Haleth. If you have read it from the History of Middle Earth, I think it's from the 11th volume. That's
Yeah.
really interesting how he goes there and interacts, and it's like Húrin is and the greatest fighter or the
I,
greatest warrior, yeah, of men.
I say that all the time, and I have an episode coming up in a show that I'm doing, and he's going to be the first of the Tolkien Arena. So Turin Turambar versus Arthur Dane. Uh,
Mm,
both with the swords made of meteorite and arguably the greatest fighters of their time. Um, I personally give Horin the number one spot, but Turin, they don't even believe Turin can die. The elves don't
Well,
even believe he could die. They're
yeah.
like, if
Well,
he dies, it's some
he
bullshit.
kills Morgoth in the end. So
Yes, in the end, they
yeah,
like he can't die by regular means. Like
yeah,
somebody have to like shoot him from like when he's not looking with an arrow. Like it's not real. That's how
yeah,
good of a fighter Turin is. And he says the orcs choose to not withstand him
yeah,
in the wars. And so when they're fighting in Tomb Holland and they're trapped there, because Tomb Holland, a lot of people don't realize the terrain is not conducive for you're trapped there because you're between two rivers.
yeah,
So you're stuck. Like so that's why they're like cornered there. Like and so they fight and Glaurung comes and they end up losing, but everybody else gets killed. This is where Ordref gets killed there, and Gwendor gets killed there. But Turin, when he goes to fight, it says the orcs run away from him. Now there's two thought processes here that I have. I think Glaurung may have said, "Nah, leave him for me because I don't want him to die because I want him this curse to be imbued upon him to where that's what Morgoth wants him to suffer from what Horin did, and or both could be true. They also don't want to withstand him because they see how much
yeah,
a problem he is.
yeah.
And so just like he said in Brethel, he's not the leader of Brethel, but he becomes
It
the
becomes
de facto leader just by his strength and arms and they just his might, his will, his bearing, everything. They're just like, yo. And
yeah,
then we see Brandy where he becomes very jealous, which I understand.
yeah. And the funny thing is they were cousins actually, like second cousins. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So I
It's
also have to
always
explain that. Yeah.
I find it weird that they don't mention it, like their kinship.
I tell people that all the time, and I literally was saying that yesterday, in my live. So when you're explaining Elrond and Elros,
Yeah,
and people are like, "Well, Elrond, what's special about Elrond?" I said, "Well, we know that he is technically should be the High King of the Noldor if he would have took the role. He's direct descended from Fingolfin's line all the way down, and then on the even of the Sindar." Technically, he if
yeah,
they went like that, he would be the ruler of the Sindar as well.
yeah,
And then I said, but that's not what also makes him special. I said, of all the men that he's descended from, all three houses of the Edain, he's of the chief lord line of each house.
oh,
And then they couldn't see the house of Haleth, the Haladin. And I'm like, no, Turin and Turin and Tur are literally descended from you know, both lines, both
yeah,
because of Gloretto and Galdor. They marry and they have
yeah,
them. And there's no more people in Breath. He's literally from the lordship line of the Haladin. And so
yeah,
it's really cool. Like I think that was a really smart decision. And so you get all three houses there. So
yeah.
absolutely, if 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 we're really thinking about it, Turin should have been the ruler of the people of Brethel, which I never really thought about that before. He
I
actually
don't,
is by right the ruler of Brethel.
well, is he though? Because
I
like
think so, yeah.
I don't know, like his mother is from the house of Beor, his father is from Hador, his father's mother is Hareth
Uh-huh.
from the house of Haladin, but from the male line, so Glorethel married Haldir, and they had a son Handir, and
Uh-huh.
from Handir was Brandir. His son was Brandir. So the male line,
Okay, if you're saying the male line, I'm thinking
yeah,
about most of the people dying and I guess
well,
yeah,
yeah,
I see
but
what
they
you're
had a
saying.
male descendant,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay,
and
okay.
Hunthor and Hunthor, however you want to
Yeah, you're
pronounce
right.
it.
Okay.
He was also
Well after they
male
die, because
descendant.
they all died pretty much around the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, so it
After
doesn't
they
matter.
died, yes. After they died,
Yeah. But
yes.
Tour, absolutely Tour. That's why I say regardless, because Tour survives.
Yeah, Tour
So yeah,
survives.
Tour survives. So he's the only surviving member. So that still holds true
Hmm. Yeah.
for Elrond and Elros. So yeah, absolutely. They'll just you see, there's good
Mhm.
conversations there. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about the male line of it. Yeah, but absolutely, you're right, 100%
Well,
right.
because after Hareth, the lordship went again
Yeah,
to
goes to her
was
nephew.
yeah Haldad, Haldan,
Hmm.
Halmil, Haldir, Handir, and Brandir. That's
Yep.
the ruling line.
I'm thinking about
Yeah.
Tuor after they all die, because
Yeah, but he tries
he's
to
not going to
flee
take
the
it.
heaven. Yeah, he's not gonna take it.
He's not going to
Who will
take it.
go?
But
Yeah.
in essence, he still is the surviving member of the whole house. Everybody else is dead.
Well, I think that there was someone else. If you read the Hurin story when he goes to Brethil, I think there was someone else from a male line, a brother or something. But he definitely had a claim if he wanted to pursue
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
From the surviving members, Brandir
Yeah.
dies, Turin dies, Brethel was destroyed. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, there's
Yeah.
remnants of people there. I'd say he probably had the strongest claim if he was to come back and be like that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that line passes on through
Yeah.
Tuor. He
True. Yeah.
survives, and his people. You know what I mean? Same thing with the house of Hador. Tuor
Yes.
is absolutely. You know what I'm saying? That's not arguable
Yeah.
because he's the son of he's the grandson of Galdor, and so no, that's not arguable with those. So absolutely that line as well. So you're just seeing the lineage
And the
pass
House
through.
of Beor also.
Yeah. Well, of course, that one is so the House of Bayor is clear. Like, you know what I'm saying? So those ones I'm not even like
Yeah. Like in
House.
Numenor, they had the bow of Bregor, the bow of Bregor, if you
Yeah.
remember the Unfinished Tales. Yeah, they
Yeah.
got it. They probably got it through Tuor and Rendil.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's who does horrendous
Rendil is from Beleth.
Bella
Beleth, in the Unfinished Tales, is Bereth, but it was a mistake from Christopher Tolkien. Actually, it's Beleth, her name. And
yeah.
she was the sister of Baragund and Belegund.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool seeing those lines pass on through somebody, I ain't gonna say obscure, but comparatively to the king, it's obscure, but then you see the lineage. And so it to me, it strengthens the king's line.
Yeah, yeah, it
You know
does.
what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
refortifies the line. So I think that's really cool
yeah,
as well.
that's really, when all the lines converge and everything
Converge and
is
come back,
yeah,
very
yeah,
much like Aragorn,
and
being
yeah, with
obviously
Arwen.
Arvedui,
Yeah,
Marion Fury,
when
yeah,
he
it
married
re-strengthens the
Firiel.
line.
Yeah,
Yep, Aris Furiel and re-strengthens the line, and that's where he could become the king of Gondor, which he could
yeah,
have anyway, even if he was just from Valinor. You know what I'm saying? But I
yeah,
think it was really cool.
and when you think about it, Aragorn is also descended like from the kings of Rovanion.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they were in the line through Eldacar,
yep.
through Valagar and Eldacar.
And
Yeah,
I also said that too. So, what is your
so he
thoughts on
has
this?
a
Because
kinship with Theoden and Eomer.
and there it's pre-Edain because they're related to the House of Hador anyway.
Yeah,
The house of the peoples of Rovanian, even though they're not considered Edain, it's there's a
yeah,
kinship there
yeah,
as well.
yeah, of
You know what
course.
I'm saying? So the Rohirrim are akin to them, the pre-Edain house of Hador, which is
Yeah.
cool. And you see the blonde hair and the strength and when you think of stuff like that, to think of the might of the Rohirrim and their braveness, and it says the people of the House of Hador had that strength and were like the bravest and the best fighters of them. And it was so a lot of people are like, well, they always talk about the Rohirrim as opposed to the Gondorians in that way. And I'm like, man, well, I know the Gondorians are descended from the Númenóreans and everything, but this house right here ain't no joke. The people that they're descended
Yeah,
from. But speaking of Eldacar, and it's cast like Eldamar, Castamere, and stuff like this. This is
yeah,
one of my thoughts that I always had. Now when Castamere usurps Eldacar, and which I don't blame his thought process. He shouldn't have did it, but I don't blame his thought process.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, of
I don't
course.
blame his thought process. It's
Mhm.
something he should have argued, not killed anybody or maimed or did anything. It should have been like a vote or whatever, something political.
Yeah,
He usurped and whatever. But being that after Castamere is killed, his kids flee and become the Corsairs of Umbar.
Lombard, yeah,
After Aenor is slain by the Witch King in the Nine, if their line doesn't break in Umbar, they technically have the strongest claim to the throne.
well, yeah, but well, it's said in the text that many of the houses were so mingled, and they remember the Kinstrife, and no one wanted to press his.
I know they're not going to. So that's always the thing. Well, I know that. I know they're never going to say, "Hey, let's give them this because of the kin strife and
Yeah,
the strife that they have with the horse of the Umbar." But what
yeah,
I'm just saying, like it's like a technicality, technically, which they if they're going to give a cousin the line, which they did at first, you know what I'm saying, when they didn't give the throne to they didn't give the throne to Arvedui
yeah.
and they gave
They
it to a
did.
cousin, then
Um,
who's to say that the Corsairs of Umbar just don't use that as a bargaining chip or a thing?
yeah,
Is all I'm saying is the possibility of them. Let's say they wanted to be jerks and use that as well. We're descended directly from whether their blood is mingled or not. They still have a direct line from one side of their family all the way to, you know what I'm saying, Anarion. And
yeah.
it's not a lie, is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I
So
get you. Yeah,
it's not a lot. So I thought it would be a cool point of tension. Very similar to if Keller Brimbor just felt away and he wanted to start some shit in the second age. I'm I'm from the eldest line.
this line. Yeah,
If he wanted to argue with let's say he wanted to argue with Gilgalad or he wanted to argue with Elrond, who basically was the regent and was going to become the next high.
yeah.
If when they all three were alive, if he wanted to start some shit, he absolutely he could do
He
it.
could. Yeah, he could
You
do.
know what I'm saying? That's what I mean. So
Yeah,
we know he's not going to. We know they wouldn't take him serious, but he wouldn't be telling fairy tales. He'd be absolutely technically he's not telling no lie. He's absolutely from the eldest line, and his grandfather was, you know what I'm saying, Feanor, and his great
mhm,
grandfather. He's more in line with the original line of Feanor, of the of line of Fenway than anybody else. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So I feel like that if he wanted to start some shit, he'd be right. So being that the line was broken and then the stewardship started. If the Corsairs wanted to be dicks, they could be like,
yeah.
well,
They
we're
could.
still surviving members. You know what I'm saying? Whether you like it or not, even if our blood is mingled, you are stewards. You don't even your blood
Mm.
ain't even like that. They do have an argument there, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, yeah. That's true. It's true.
So
It's
I
true.
love shit like this. Sorry, but
No, no. I'll tell you. Like I found like the kinship of Aragorn and like Eomer and Theoden like interesting.
yeah, I
Because
like it. I love that. I love that shit
yeah,
too,
it's
man.
more direct that them being from the House of Hador, like remnants. So it's
Yeah,
from
it's
Eldacar, so from Eldacar and Firiel and
hmm yeah,
yeah,
Ferial. I love that Arvidui had that thought process to do that. I love that.
yeah.
And I'm like, damn, man, it's this stupid Council of Gondor. Like that was salty of
Pelendur, it
them.
was Pelendur's fault.
I think it was so salty. It was so
Yeah,
salty, and I'm like, nah, we good. Like it was so salty to do that. This is one of the reasons why I love Prince Imrahil so much because Imrahil is so when Faramir's injured and they don't know whether he's going to survive or not, and Denethor is passed, by absolute all means, you know, Prince Imrahil is the steward,
yeah,
and his line is so pure too. From Badol Imroth, Prince
yeah,
Imrahil is one of my favorite characters, and he doesn't give a. He uses his. He's very much like Fingolfin in a certain sense. He uses his integrity, and he
yeah,
says, man, I respect the line. I see it. Um, you come how when you see fit to come. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't, oh no, man. He doesn't try to come in and say, I by right, they're my brother-in-law and these are my nephews and try to, his blood is very pure. And he has
yeah.
like he could really argue if he wanted to, and the people would probably, because they know of him more, they probably would take to him if he really wanted to press the issue. And he doesn't do that. And I have so much respect for that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they cheer
But
for him when he comes. They're
yeah,
like, Abraham, like they're just
yeah,
all nice. You know what I'm saying?
uh,
He's from a fiefdom, a very prominent fiefdom, the most prominent fiefdom in the South.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and Imrahil. So yeah, he could. I don't know if he could have pressed his claim to become something like a king or
just a
steward.
steward.
A steward, nah, well, maybe, maybe,
I
but
think he could have pressed it. I think he could have pressed it. From Faramir would have survived probably, but if Faramir didn't recover, he was the steward. He was the acting steward. So I
Yeah.
think if he wanted to make a problem, is what I'm saying, he
Yeah,
could have done
he
that. You know
could
what I'm
have
saying?
done it. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like you can imagine how Gondor was in its high days with men like Faramir all about, as it
yeah,
says in the book. Yeah, would be a
yeah,
sight to behold. Like, and the
absolutely.
line of Dol Amroth, like it's a shame that Tolkien like didn't write all the Lords of Dol Amroth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have loved to see that. And I would have loved to see like the true connections of, because they hint, they're like, oh, he's got some this and this and the third. And we get a full drawback all the way to like, let's say it would have been like, imagine if he is somehow, is Elven line goes back to something, one of the really cool lines in
well, I don't
Lothlorien
think.
or
Yeah, nah, well.
you know,
So yeah, Mithralas was a Sylvan elf, most
yeah,
probably. And Tolkien probably wanted to do that, not to make them so important, like for
yeah,
Imrazor to having been married to an Eldar or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
I would have been cool though. You know what I'm saying?
well,
Even if he was
maybe.
like, no, I don't like Nimrod so I'm gonna say Nimrod.
Yeah, no,
I'm not a
no.
not a huge fan of Nimrod. Her attitude sucked to me. Not to me. I don't like her attitude.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, maybe.
but I like Amroth.
Armor, yeah.
Yeah, maybe maybe he's a cousin of Amroth or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would have been cool to me, bro. That would have
Yeah.
been cool.
And
You know what
his
I'm saying?
kinship with the kings of Rohan, because Morwen of Losarnach was
Yeah,
from Dol Amroth.
yeah.
And yeah, and she married Thengel. And
I
there's a
I,
kinship there.
I love that too because then it gives play to Aramir, Aramir, and uh, you know Thengel's son. It makes everybody more important when their family is very much the argument we having with Gilgalad.
Yeah.
This parentage is important and the history of their
It is.
family because in the Lord of the Rings, they mean something. Like Aragorn is Aragorn because of not only just being Aragorn, but because of who he's descended from. He's from the line of Elendil, and who in turn is from the line of Eärendil, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. And so the line of Elros, so on
Yeah,
and so forth.
from Luthien. He's
He's
descended from
from
Luthien.
great
Yeah.
people, and then they what I mean. Even if one makes a mistake, the other has chances to what I mean to
Yeah.
rectify it, and they do right. And Isildur is done so dirty in the Lord of the Rings movies. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He's a great person in the books, and
He is.
it's I wish that he gets his justice and just due.
Yeah.
So I always
Yeah.
ask our guests 3 questions, and if you watch the show, then you know what those questions are. But I'm gonna go ahead and ask them anyway. I'm gonna repeat them. So if you had the choice out of anybody in the Legendarium, it doesn't have to be Lord of the Rings. It could be a Hobbit. It could be the Silmarillion. It could be
Yeah.
whatever you want. Unfinished Tales. Anybody in the Legendarium, if you could marry somebody, who would it be? If you had somebody who was going to protect you, who would it be? And if you had to fight somebody, who would it be? So who would you marry? Who would you have protect you? And who would you fight?
So I would marry Luthien.
Oh man,
Yeah.
easy way out. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
easy way out. Yeah.
That was so quick. That was such a quick answer.
Yeah, I would have probably Juan to protect me. I think
Oh,
that
yay.
yeah, he was a good protector.
He was a good boy.
And I would probably fight Drogo Baggins. Yeah,
Okay.
I would
What?
fight a Hobbit because I think they would be the easiest to fight. And Drogo
Yeah.
was kind of heavy, like kind of large in the waist, so
Yeah,
heavy,
yeah. He,
not that fast.
he
And
couldn't deal with he couldn't really navigate his way around boats too
yeah,
well. So he's yeah.
Oh no.
I feel you. I feel you. Sometimes you got to pick an easy win, man.
yeah, yeah,
I
Yo,
love
man,
the
thank you so much,
some
man.
people are like, I'm gonna fight this person because I can win. Then some people are just like, I'm gonna fight them because it'll be fun, but I'll
I
never
want to
win.
stomp them
So
out. You know
there's
what I'm
like two
saying?
different, like very different streams of thought for that.
Mans is
Answering
the
that
trivia
question.
champion of the Tolkien Society. He can't even participate, and we see why. Man is in here
Mm.
just schooling us in here, man, on Tolkien knowledge. We aspire to be as great as you, sir. Callie is going to leave us with her final words, which are always some words of wisdom. She has a name for it, Callie. Let us
They're
know.
called the self-care tips.
The self-care tips.
Okay.
So this one, clearly Adanathel did not need this advice, but here are 6 tips on how to study for a trivia competition. So tip number 1 is to watch all sorts of game shows, and you'll pick up a lot of obscure facts in a fun way by doing that. Tip number 2 is to take different types of quizzes, like Adanathel was saying. He like went on and he found quizzes with other people, and he had an app. And the more you see questions, the more you get used to spotting the patterns when they ask the questions. Tip number 3 is to absolutely go down those information rabbit holes. Like when you find something that's neat and you just want to keep getting into it, get into it, because you never know when that information will be useful. Tip number 4 is play with the questions. So, like I said, there are patterns. When you take quizzes, you'll start to see them, but there's also hints sometimes in the questions that are asked. So you can look for those depending on who your host is. Tip number 5 is to listen to audiobooks, which we know Kel did. She was amazing for that. And tip number 6 is to trust your first instinct, since it's usually the correct answer.
All great tips, man. All great tips for you guys to follow, and make sure you following Voices of Arda. Make sure you are subscribed to our page. Make sure you are on our Discord. Make sure you go and you follow our Discord. We have a great family there, and we do a great many events. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, which we got to get back into. Sometimes we watch movies, and sometimes we'll rewatch The Lord of the Rings, and so on and so forth. And make sure you're following all of the Lord of the Rings content creators on the Voices of Order, because we each have our own niche and things that we do, and they're all great at all of them. And make sure you are following Adanathel right here, the man himself. Keep tuned, and thank you for being on Voices of Order. Thank you so much for participating in our podcast. It's been a blast.
It was great. It was great. Thank you for having me, guys, and I'm looking forward to the next event.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen, man.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we're going to be heading out. That was episode 62 of Voices of Order. Peace and love.